All good, man. All good. I understand. Totally understand.
Oh, jeez. Um, yeah. So, hold on. I'm gonna do the video. The video intro. Cool. Fun. Play video. Okay, cool. Sorry. This has been a freaking long day.
I know I was
Sorry,
there.
everybody. Sorry,
I was
everybody.
there. Hey, I
Oh,
helped you
good.
today. It couldn't be that bad. I
True.
helped out.
True.
Although you had all those lovely interviewees
Yeah, that
today.
was good, actually.
That was a lot. I am happy to see that kind of go getting out of the Gen Zers there by the looks of it. I'm quite happy about that. Considering
Right?
that that's one of those talking points about a certain topic area we don't like to talk about on the podcast, that Gen Zs are lazy. Well, I don't agree
Well,
with that.
it's true. We're only partially lazy.
Yeah,
So, trying to
it's
remember how to turn the sound on again to do this. So, uh, maybe, hopefully it's saved. We're going to try it. So, here we go, guys. We're going to try this whole beginning thing. Tell me if you can hear it, Jonathan. Yes, no?
I don't hear it.
Damn it. Never mind. Never mind. Stupid
Oh,
freaking Zoom.
oh,
I'll get it for next week. I had too little time to be able to do this. But anyway, so it's free comic book day week, guys.
yes, it
Free
is.
comic book day. So we got a lot of cool people showing up to a lot of cool stuff. At our waterfront store, we have holy crap, we have a lot. We have
So many you have
Sandy,
to share with the mills.
right? We have Sandy coming, who's I forget what her last name is. She's a voice actress. She did a bunch of stuff, including some Sailor Moon. We have the Comicsburg guys. They're going to be there. And then we also have Robert Hack, who's going to be there for 2 hours. We found out today. And he has a book for Comic Book Day. So make sure you get it signed by him for
Nice.
those 2 hours. Yeah. So that's Waterfront. Mills has oh yeah, sorry. Waterfront also has the Pittsburgh Avengers. Uh, then they're going to be hanging out and in cosplay. You can take your photos with your favorite hero. It's going to be awesome. Mills also has some Pittsburgh Avengers, which is great. Lots of Thor going on out there, I
Yeah,
believe.
we're the
Like
preferred.
a lot.
We are the preferred store of Thor. So take with what you
Even though
will.
Mueller's in front of Cranberry.
True.
And then they also have Dan Noakes out there. That's going to be good. And
Yeah.
then Ohio has Justin Birch, who's going to be at Three Rivers Comic Con and lettered our poster, which is great. So lots of cool people to check out. Lots of fun books to get. I will tell everyone we did order a lot lighter this year than normal. So go early and please don't take it if you're not actually going to read it. There are, in the entirety of like almost 20 years of free comic book days, like 6 books have ever actually been worth anything. And none of the publishers have done that in a long time because they know that they can make more money off it on something that they actually make us buy. So don't just take everything to take everything. Just check out actually what you want to check out, please. And
Read
also
it for
remember
the
they're not free to
kids.
us. So right, free comic days for the kids. So,
It actually is. That's what that's the
it
whole
is.
true meaning by it. And I don't want to hear the whole well, adults or comic book like guys too. I was like, yeah, that's
Yeah,
fine, but you guys can afford to buy your own comic books. Little 5-year-olds can't afford to buy comic books for most of the time.
correct, correct.
So
So,
give the kids their Sonics and their Archie
right.
and their Avengers, the stuff the kids want.
Yep. And then after Free Comic Book Day, oh man, we have so much stuff going
That's
on.
that's when shit hits the fan, John.
Well, we have the Memorial Day cookout. Well, not we're not doing a cookout. Sorry, just the Memorial Day Geek Flea Market at Cranberry. So make sure you go up there, get a spot if you want to vend at it. That'll be the Sunday before Memorial Day. And then the next week is Three Rivers Comic Con.
Yep.
It's going to be awesome. The guest list is complete. Sorry. And on the website, but the vendor list is not. I'm working on that today. We are sold out for vendor spacing and
I
exhibitor
was gonna
spacing.
say, I think it's most of the guys most of the vendors that were there last year are going to be here this year. Like, I'm gonna
Yeah,
say a good 80%.
I'd say 8, maybe even more than that.
Yeah, I know we had a lot of the vendors that you guys loved, the comic guys. A lot of the comic vendors signed up right back for this
Yep.
year. So,
So here's a cool map. So this is not including the spaces that I sold to finish it off.
mhm.
But if you can see that, the orange ones are all comic vendors. The green ones are toys, and the yellow are everything else.
Yeah, that's a little bit
Now,
more yellow than there was last year, I believe.
yeah,
Not that
but
I'm
then I
complaining.
also, right, but I sold the other booths that were remaining to, one was a comic dealer, and the other was I think a chainmail. We'll have 2 chainmail guys this year.
Oh, that's not bad.
So
But
yeah, it's
we
not
had three um resin 3D printer guys last year.
yeah, we have a couple of those. Yeah.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah, that's
some
where
of
I
the
got
yellow are also like,
that's
there
where
you
I got
go.
my sweet Dr. Fate helm there, for those who can
Nice.
see. Yeah.
That's
That
awesome.
Dr. Fate helm is not in stores, ladies and gentlemen. That was made.
That's awesome.
And I had to stare at that all weekend. And then I got
Some
a
of the
deal on it the
yellow is
last day.
also some of the yellow is also gaming guys too.
Yes.
So we have some different stuff coming up. And then I still have to place all the artists since we're now sold out. So that's why I haven't released the map yet. But that hopefully will be Monday or Tuesday at the latest. So after that, we also then have our customer appreciation sale, which is the 24th of June, and the warehouse sale will be the same weekend. The return of the warehouse sale part 2 is the same weekend as customer appreciation sale. Now, before you ask, no, none of the sale stuff is applicable to the warehouse. So none of the wall books, none of the dollar books, none of that shit's on sale in the warehouse. It's like its own separate multiverse reality, like nothing else. So, but yeah, definitely come out for that. It'll be a good time. A lot of people find a lot of good stuff. We're adding some more stuff to it. It's gonna be fun. So, and Todd just keeps buying because he's a madman. But whatever. Cool. All right. So we're gonna talk some comics. And then we're gonna talk. I guess we can talk about this a little bit before we start talking into comics. So Jim Lee is now president of DC Comics. Like,
Yeah.
he's the only one.
Yeah, he's not sharing the title.
DC now rides 100% on Jim Lee's shoulders. I don't know if that's a good or bad thing.
I don't think it's a
But-
bad thing because I mean, him and Todd McFarlane are probably the two guys that I would trust comic wise in the industry out of the big 90 crew. Because everybody else is
out
kind
of the Image guys.
yeah.
Okay.
I mean, obviously, because Todd's still running Image like a boss, and Spawn's bigger than ever, and you know, he's gangbusters galore, and I want to say Jim Lee's probably the second most successful out of that crew.
I agree that
I mean,
they're
career
probably
wise,
the most successful,
yeah,
and I agree that they're probably the most successful out of them.
yeah,
Agreed, for sure.
yeah. For all, I
I
know some of you guys out there, the Lob Rifle butt kissers. Come on, guys. He hasn't done anything legit in years.
Right.
Come on.
Right.
What, that Major X
No.
thing? What, 4 years ago? That was his big comeback.
Yeah.
He hasn't done
Yeah.
crap since then. So, and
Yeah.
I wouldn't put him in charge of Marvel or DC or Image or Dark Horse or IDW. I
Nope.
mean, and they need help. Like IDW needs help, and I wouldn't trust Rob Liefeld with that kind of stuff. No,
I
thank
don't
you.
know. They are on. They are at least. They've at least stopped their bleeding and are starting to go in the right
Yes.
direction.
Yeah. I mean,
So I'm not.
I still get Ninja Turtles from them. So as long as they keep Ninja Turtles,
Yeah.
and that's their bread and butter, and they don't oversaturate.
Well, now that they have
Ninja
some of the
Turtles,
Star Wars stuff back, it's gonna be.
mhm,
It's gonna be interesting.
they'll be
We'll
fine.
see how it goes.
Speaking of Star Wars, happy 4th to you all too.
May
I
the
have-
4th be with you.
Yes. And then Revenge of the 5th is tomorrow. So all you Sith
Right.
lovers like myself
Right.
will have our day for tomorrow. So
So you're probably wondering why we named this the title of this episode "Star Wars is Catholic?" ? Because so we're going to talk about this because we learned this years ago from having some 501sters on. So when someone says "May the fourth force be with you," the proper response is "May the force be with you." It can be followed by "also," or "May the force be with you too." But it's literally just "May the force be with you" back and forth. So all day, if you notice, I made a post of, to my nerd friends, "May the fourth be with you." Anyone who just wrote "and also with you," as good Catholics did and recovered Catholics did, I put a like. But if you said "May the fourth be with you" back, you got a heart. So who knew that the Star Wars universe was a recovering Catholic?
And you said Catholic, which I am for. Well, I like to say I am a Catholic, a retired Catholic. How about
I'm a recovering Catholic.
that?
12 years of Catholic school.
I had the urge when you say "May the fourth be with you." The urge clicks in the back of your head,
Yep. It's
also
very,
with you, and I'm like,
yeah,
ugh.
right. It is very hard to break that, and I totally get it. Get it.
For those who don't understand the term of indoctrination, that is indoctrination. That little thing in the back of your mind that makes you do things even though you know better. That's indoctrination. Just in case of you,
Right.
some of you wonderful people in that red side of the one spectrum topic.
Oh,
that
whoa.
we try not to get in there.
Whoa. We're not going into this because
Just saying.
Because I know some people. Because I know people who are just as blue that do the same. So, not gonna we're not gonna go there. Live a purple life, you'll be fine. So,
Purple, go purple. Purple is
right,
safe.
go Team Purple. All right, we're gonna talk comics now, and then after we're done with talking comics, I'm gonna give you guys my spoiler-free review of Guardians of the Galaxy 3. Mostly because there really isn't a lot of spoilers. Like if you've been paying attention to anything, there really isn't a lot of spoilers, except for some cameos, which I will not spoil for you. So, anyway, so I'm gonna go first. My first book is Spider-Man #8, Legacy number 164, by Dan Slott and Mark Bagley and a bunch of other people. So it's interesting because this is the Spider-Man that has been returned to the 616, and he's still dealing with repercussions from the end of the Spider-Verse, where he has control of all of the Spider-Man who had all of the little, like the man that was made of spiders, that Spider-Man. He has all of his spiders left, and he's working with works for Norman Osborn, and he has Osborn help him to amplify his power to get control of the spiders a little more. While that's going on, the Electro is coming back into power to be the big bad for this arc. And Spider Boy shows up for the second time in comics history, and he's somehow, I guess, telekinetically like bonded with Peter Parker. And that's pretty much all we learn about Spider Boy. So Parker's powers end up getting amplified from the Osborn treatment, and then when Electro does some crazy shenanigans, it gets amplified even more. And at the end of the book, his spider sense is so nuts that he can literally feel everyone in the entire city of New York all at one time and why they're freaking out. And it's very fast paced. It's very good. It's very Dan Slotty. So check it out. I dig it.
So that reminds me of the what is it, that Spider-Man? I want to say the zombies, the other zombie, the reboot, the Marvel Zombies reboot, in the last recency, the most recent one, where Peter Parker is his spider sense is constantly in his head all the time. That's why he always looks and feels really crappy. So that's what it kind of reminded me of there.
Yeah, I guess you
can
can
say it
go
was
with
a non-stop spider tingling constantly because they were constantly in danger, so it was not stopping.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Or at least I'll allow it.
Okay. Well, I did 3 books. One is like a normal continuation from a series I think you guys know that I've been pretty much talking about it on the podcast, but the other 2 are more themed. I will go with one of my themed ones here first.
Okay.
I read the Rocket Raccoon Marvelous Tale. It came out this week. Excuse
cool.
me. Mid belch. Pardon me. And this is a reprint of his first solo series from 1985. It's 1 through 4. Now, I didn't read a lot of Rocket Raccoon, especially during that time period. I think I was like 5 or 6. So I wouldn't have read this when it first came out to begin with. So it was kind of cool to read this again, like read this for the first time as an adult. And it's interesting because it almost seems like Rocket Raccoon, the one that we know from the MCU, is completely different from this Rocket Raccoon in the Marvel universe, where he is more of a like borderline genius and kind of a book nerd. Like the scene at the very beginning of the book, he's sitting there smoking a pipe, reading an old tome according to his otter girlfriend, and I was like,
Yep.
okay, that's not even close to what we see him as in the current MCU, or even from the Rocket that I know from Scotty Young's run, where that's completely different. Like,
I
as
will
far
say,
as his-
I feel that the current comic version of him is somewhere in between. But yeah, continue. Like, we'll get more into that, a little bit more into that in the
yeah.
movie,
But like I
if you
said,
want to know.
it was cool. It was 1 through 4, so it was actually quite a nice thick book. I think it is. I want to say it's like $8.99, $9.99, something like
Yeah.
that. So
That's the one where
it's
it's got like, is that the one where he's like the captain of the spaceship? And
yeah,
like
yeah,
Walrus is his one other guy.
yes, yeah. This is a
Yeah,
very animal heavy. There's not a
Anthropomorphic.
lot of there are
Yeah.
no guardians in this. This is him with
Yeah.
his animal friends, and if
So
you're down for that kind of thing, this is definitely your kind of
so
read.
that reprint is the first appearance of Layla the Otter, who is in the
Okay.
movie.
Okay.
And the Walrus is kind of in the movie, but he's not. That's not his name in the movie.
Okay.
But that crew is sort of represented in the movie.
Okay.
Like, they use that book or that story as part of his backstory.
Okay.
So,
But
that's all I'll say.
I
That's
have to
the
say
rest I'll say about it.
I have to say, for like someone who didn't read a lot of Rocket, other than having his second appearance in Hulk and the Scotty Young stuff from 2015, 2014,
Mhm.
somewhere around there.
All right.
This was kind of eye-opening, and I almost kind of wish he'd have a solo movie like after this, or a spin-off series. This would be something interesting on Disney Plus that I could see doing, and it would be really cool. Like I said, I have not seen the movie yet, so I cannot say one way or the other.
I don't
this
think
would have
that's
been-
gonna happen, but
Well, it would have been something cool, is my gist.
it would have. Absolutely would have.
So definitely would have been in the realm of a Jim Henson type thing.
Right.
If Jim Henson was still around, or his son was still around, and you could see some good old fashioned labyrinth puppetry, I think that would have been a really cool thing on there.
I'm the puppet master.
But
all right.
please, if you haven't read
this,
give it a shot. Even if you're like, well, if it's not like the MCU, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, it's a beginning. It's a foundation on what the MCU is built on. So
it does have
give it a
ties.
shot.
That's all I'm going to tell you.
Yeah, it has ties. It's you're gonna find something cool for those who are younger that want to know more. Here you go. Here's a beginning, and it's in one book. You don't have to get all 4 books. It's right there. You get it. Grab it and read it. So.
All right, my second book, Spider-Man 2099, Dark Genesis 1. So this book by Steve Orlando and Justin Mason is really fucking good. So not only do we get Carnage 2099, we get Moon Knight 2099 in this book. Carnage is, so basically what happens is they
now, are
somehow
those
like
first appearances by chance?
I believe so. Yeah.
Okay.
So they basically cut funding to like the lower end people, or the upper end people who have like higher insurance and are super loaded. They basically like totally fuck those guys over and wreck their entire economy. One of those guys then ends up becoming Carnage. That guy then goes and kills a bunch of the other people like that, and it then brings in Carnage. Spider Woman 2099's in here. They have a fight. They get hurt. Spider Man leaves. Carnage leaves. Carnage is like, "You taste different. I'm coming back for you. I want your blood because he likes blood." Moon
So
Knight
does that mean
2099 looks. What's that?
Does that mean like Carnage is like a vampire? Is this like Carnage slash Morbius?
I don't think so, or at least not yet. At least. But Spider Woman 2099 is like an alien. Moon Knight is in there for one page. That's it. One page.
Okay. Is he badass looking or?
It's too early to really tell because it's really like small shots, like where he's far away. And the mask is kind of interesting because it's like a crest across his like where his eyes would be, and then the rest is just like smoothed down. So I'm curious to see what Mr. Mason does with it because I love his art style. The art in this book is fantastic, by the way. And then Miguel tries to help some people get into the hospital. They're like, "Hey, no, none of these people can come in here anymore." And then it cuts to this girl who her dad was one of the security guards, and he got hurt, and he like dies in her arms, and you realize that she's actually Venom.
Oh.
So it's gonna be Maximum Carnage 2099 is basically the next issue of this book, and it is awesome sauce. I love every freaking second of it. So
nice.
I will probably reach out to Justin and try to buy a page out of this book because it's freaking awesome sauce. Like I said.
Well, I will stick with the theme for the day here.
Sure.
I read the Dark Vader #1, Black, White, and Red. Now that's from last week, so this came out last week.
All the colors of all the stormtroopers.
I was like, I love these Black, White, and Red series. Like I have the Wolverine one, and it was kind of good. I just love the fact that they're using. Well, I love the fact that they're using the three primary colors, right. And so I'm cool with it. Now there's 3 short stories in here, like they are with all the other ones. The first one is Vader getting captured by a bounty hunter who ends up killing his own father to trap Vader. He kills his own father. Vader thinks they're rebels, but in reality, I think he's a bounty hunter. And the bounty hunter looks badass too. I think he's part mechanical in his own way. So I want to see where that story goes. It seems pretty cool.
You get a bounty hunter, and you get a bounty hunter. Sorry.
Yeah, but it's not a Mandalorian bounty hunter. Thank you.
Oh, bummer.
Yeah. But the second Vader story is done by Peach Momoko. And I know she's a very polarizing figure. I know a few people out there are, her art's awful. It doesn't make sense. It's not comic book art. I'm here to tell you, yes, it is. She does it in anime style. And if you have read any anime,
actually,
manga, and
I don't even think that's true. I think it's in more of like a classic Japanese style.
Yeah, but
versus like
you see a lot of it in the manga than you do in normal comics, and that angers a lot of.
So that's not even true either, because most manga's in black and white.
Yes, but this is black, white, and red. There's a little bit of red in there, but most of this is black and white. most of this is black and white. Like there are hints of red, but
Mhm.
there's no uh, words in this story. It is all
Mhm.
imagery, but
Mhm.
it, from what I can tell, is a young lady sleeping, and she is having a nightmare of Vader and the Sith, and it's really artsy. It's really, like I said, the imagery is beautiful. I love it, especially the way
Right.
she promotes Vader as more of a Grim Reaper. Like you see the image of uh, Vader, but instead of the normal mask, you see like the face of a Grim Reaper of death. So it's a cool little story. I don't know if it's going to go anywhere, if that's kind of the end, because she just kind of wakes up from the nightmare and that's it. So I don't know if that's going to go anywhere, but um, we'll see. Um, Now the third Vader uh, story is more traditional rebellion, trying to fight against the Empire, and there's a big gala being thrown by a officer's wife of the Empire. Apparently, they invited Lord Vader, and Lord Vader is like, "I don't want to deal with this. It's not my cup of tea." And the officer says this pretty much. He's like, "I don't have time for this because I have to finish this project." They talk about a project, and they said it's almost finished, but it's still not working. And Vader's losing his mind. Like, what are you
Mhm.
doing? You've been working on this for years and you don't have it going on right. Meanwhile, this rebellion is covertly infiltrating this lab, and they're trying to destroy whatever this project is. I have a sneaking suspicion that this is the Death Star. Like this is
Mhm.
probably like the Death Star and how they could get it to work and how they couldn't get it to work. But
Yeah.
one of the coverts, one of the rebels, happens to be a brilliant engineer, and he was actually he knew how to turn it on and off, so he knew how to destroy it from the inside. And before you see like the imagery of,
Did you try to plug it in and plug it and plug it back in?
yeah, I think it was a little bit more
That's all I can
complicated than
think
that.
about. I'm sorry.
But basically, like Vader kills all the rebels except the one engineer guy, and he's like, "Well, thanks to you, we know how this works." And the guy's
Mhm.
like, "No, no!" You see him drop the little key card that he was going to destroy the thing with. So obviously, I think Vader kills him. But I don't know if there's
Mhm.
going to be the continuation on that. But usually I think there's usually 5 books of this. So I may want to continue to read. And I'm not a big Star Wars comic reading guy, but I will probably give this a shot just because I like the black, white, and red series of books. So, and I thought it was
Awesome.
very appropriate for May the 4th. So
Well, continuing on with the random black and white, my last book is the big Akira Volume One. Um, I I have to I had to read this for a podcast I'm going to be on this weekend with local comic shop, and we're comparing and contrasting the first volume with the movie. So I will tell you guys that I have not read this in a long, long time. It was probably like, oh, I bet you it's been 30 years since I've read this, and I borrowed it from someone back in the day. I hadn't watched the movie in probably 25 years. Okay. So, um, this book is awesome, but there are definitely some cringe moments. Um, like, uh, Canada, who is the, uh, the main good guy, who ends up being the main good guy, kind of. He is very like fuck it, I'm gonna use drugs. We're gonna sell drugs. Uh I'm gonna totally like try to keep getting in this girl's pants all the time. But then you got to remember that it was written in 1986. So I think 86,
Kind of fits the
89,
theme of the era.
something like that. Yeah. And it's very, very much so like that vibe. Um, I do still enjoy it, for the most part. Um, I don't, I don't know that I will continue to read the rest of the series again. But I will tell you that there are parts in the book that I liked better than the movie, and there are parts in the movie I liked better than the book. In the book, Canada is totally a creeper. In the movie, he is not.
Mhm.
Katsu, who becomes like, who's kind of the main bad in the book, is way crazy cooler in the movie than he is in the book. The weird children, I like actually in the book a little more than the movie, because like in the movie they a little overdo it. Um, it's a lot of fun, but if you want to hear my full, like all my comments on it when I do this discussion, check out Last Comic Shop. Um, we're cutting it on Sunday, so it'll probably be up in about a week or two. And then we're also going to talk about the cons, but definitely check out Akira. It's a classic manga. It's actually, I think, one of the first ones that came to the U.S. and it was in this size when it
Mhm.
came to the U.S.
Isn't it?
And you can buy a couple singles. What?
I was gonna say, isn't that one of the? Isn't it rated among the best literary um, books of the 20th century? Wasn't it on that list with Watchmen and stuff like that?
Uh,
Because I
Very
faintly
possible.
remember that. I faintly remember that it was on the list there, or it was a serious
Uh,
consideration
it
for it.
might be in like the best graphic novels list. Uh, Here's CBRs. Let me see if it's on CBRs.
I think for the time it was revolutionary. So it's
I agree, and it was one of the books that brought the manga
and the
genre to the
anime.
U.S.
Yeah,
and
one of
and
the
and
first
kind of
anime.
got, yeah, um and kind of got anime and manga rolling in the U.S. to the general masses. I
I
mean, there
think
was
it's
still some people that already knew,
yep.
but yeah.
Well, it was
Um,
this Akira, uh, Macross,
mhm, mhm.
and Ninja Scroll are the three that I remember from those early to mid '80s that I was first exposed to as far as anime and manga. Are those three there? I still have Ninja Scroll somewhere. So,
Wow, Silver Surfer Parable was on here,
hmm.
um, which is interesting. Sandman,
So
Marvels,
uh,
Super Superman.
I will do
Hold on,
my
I have like
final.
five left. We're just gonna see if it's on here.
Okay.
V for Vendetta, Mouse, Watchmen. Nope, not on the top 50 for CBR.
Okay.
But I think it at least was for, like, if you go to like Book of the '80s. So
Yeah,
I'll be
definitely.
right back because my dogs are being
Okay.
idiots. So I will. I I can hear you.
Okay.
Um, so
All right. Well, my final book is the last issue of Joe Fixit as number 5. For those who don't know, Peter David is not doing very well health wise. So I encourage you, for those who are big Peter David fans, please read this series. This may be the last series he does if he doesn't get in better health. So again, also part of our Heroes Initiative. I'm sure he is probably using some of those funds himself, I'm sure. But anyway, these Joe Fixit number 5. Left off last time is everybody's fighting. Kingpin's fighting for control of Vegas. He brings in pretty much like most of the Sinister Six. Like you got Electro, you got a lot of classic Marvel villains in here. Even some that I totally forgot about. And in their classic costumes as well. They were, they're sitting there fighting, and Hydra, I guess another faction came in and started fighting up against Kingpin. I don't know where the other faction's from though. I think that might have been one of these other bosses trying to take over. So it's an all for one. It's a brawl, all out brawl. Hydro Man comes into play here. Washes away Rhino constantly. Was it Spidey and Joe are fighting like crazy. I think at one point, as Hydro Man is like washing like the floor of the casino, Spidey's pulling up Joe and with his webbing, and his feet are stuck to the ceiling, but the ceiling is tiled, so the tiles give out. Joe like lands on his feet, no problem. Spidey's falling straight down. You think he's gonna get hit hard. He gets caught, and first you think it's Joe, and it's not. Kingpin catches him. And it was a funny little scene because then he's just like, Spidey's like, oh, thanks, blah, blah, blah. And he looks up and he sees Kingpin's the one doing it. And Kingpin just has this semi-shocked face. And Spidey's like, oh. So he climbs down and he turns Kingpin. He's like, let's not talk about this again. And Kingpin turns to him. He's like, agreed. And then they continuing during the middle of the fight. And during that scene, I'm picturing animated Spider-Man from the 90s, the voice actors. Like I could hear the dude that did Kingpin's voice do agreed in that Kingpin voice, and I chuckled a little bit. Electro tries to electrocute Joe. Of course, Joe's kind of like, I was like, I have a really good healing factor, Well, Electro hits him really hard to the point where Spidey almost does mouth to mouth. And just at the last second, Joe wakes up. He's like, don't you dare kiss me to Spidey. Hey, this is a lot of little humor hits in the end here. Finally, was it Electro and Hydro Man look at each other and like, hey, what's up? He's like, hey, like, want to team up? And Hydro Man's, sure, why not? And Kingpin's like, what are you doing? Because he's paying Electro. Electro's like, yeah, this isn't working for me anymore. So they betray Kingpin. He runs away while Hydro Man and Electro are trying to take over Vegas. Well, Joe and Spidey are like, okay, I guess we got to deal with them. And they do the whole classic of one's coming one way, one's coming the other, boom, and they short each other out. After all this, Kingpin ran away. All the bad guys pretty much have their asses handed to them. Joe.
So you're telling me that water and electric are bad to have together?
Yes, pretty much.
Damn it! I gotta change my weekend plans.
Joe turns to his boss and he's like, "Hey, mind if I take the rest of the night off?" And his boss is like, "Yeah, I think you did a good job." So he takes Spidey around, puts his arm around Spidey. He's like, "You and me hit Fremont tonight." And you see the end, and they're just going through downtown Vegas together. And I'm like, okay,
That's awesome.
that's a perfect ending to a Joe Fixit short series there. So
That is. It
for
is.
those who are a big fan of Peter David and Joe Fixit, I highly recommend. This is definitely like comic book series of the year for me. I'm
Mm.
totally I because it's has action,
It's
has
still
a little
early
bit of
though.
it's mid-year.
You're right.
It's
Okay. Okay.
I'll get it to it. Um, it's cheesy and it's cheesiness. Like it is good cheese though. It's not bad, but I think this is great. This
So
is
you're
like the
saying
Joe
it's
fix that we
Gouda?
want. Yes, it's good. But this is definitely it's definitely one of those things of we
Okay.
never got to see what Joe Fixit was like in Vegas, like except for maybe 3 or 4. Well, no, that's not true. 5 or 7 issues of regular
Mm,
Incredible Hulk, but you didn't
mm.
see like a totality of it or anything like you. This shows, I think, would be like one of those like stories that you don't that would have never flown in the late 80s, early 90s, but it's perfect for right now. So,
Agreed.
so
Agreed. All right. Well, now I'm going to give my spoiler-free review of Guardians. um, if you don't want to hear any of this at all, just get off. I'm going to do my best to not spoiler it. So the first thing I will say is, uh, you need to watch the Christmas special if you haven't, because it does tie, like it does follow that, right?
okay.
Um, then I will say that it is probably my favorite Guardians movie, because it has the least amount of forced jokes. It was a little less funny. Like it wasn't a. It was still it had funny moments, but it wasn't as like forced about it, that the other two really were, especially the second one. The second one was real. There are you get to see Rocket's backstory, which you kind of get from the commercials, um, which ties into the book you read because the animals are in there and you see them in the commercials. So that's not spoiler. You just
Mhm.
haven't seen the trailer. That's your fault. Um, but they don't. They kind of take those creatures, kind of mix it because Rocket has a couple different backstories in the comics. Um, one is the one that you're talking about, and another one is where he's kind of like been experimented on, um, and he was like a regular raccoon that he's being experimented on. That's where they kind of go with this, except they add in the addition that the person who did it was the High Evolutionary. Again, not really spoiling it if you can watch a freaking trailer. Um,
Which I kind of
there
don't
was
agree with, and my own personal
you know
thing.
what though? It really worked for the story of the movie though. It
Okay.
worked to make it worked to make the High Evolutionary a bad guy. Um, he was quite possibly the most terrifying villain I've seen yet in the Marvel universe. Um,
Wow.
he was
More
because
than Thanos.
he is more psychotic and deranged than Thanos, and he is while Thanos was very much like I'm just gonna throw my army at this thing. This guy is like I'm not gonna just throw my army at this thing. I'm gonna blow up a planet like kind of crazy, right? Like he
Oh
does not
wow.
give a shit. He wants Rocket's brain. And he wants Rocket's brain because Rocket, for some reason, not only became intelligent enough to talk, but could do like physics and all kinds of other stuff, and wasn't just monkey see, monkey do. He actually understood how to do it and learned and developed it like a super hyper speed. Um, there's like almost no love story in this. Will's trying to get back with Gamora, even though it's a different Gamora. So that was kind of nice that wasn't the focus of the fucking movie like the first two movies were. Uh, and
And
Uh,
also like the Infinity Saga for those who forgot.
yeah, yeah. Um, I I will say that like this is the first time that Groot isn't like a like plushy kid friendly thing. Like he is a fucking mercenary, and I love it. I'm like, holy shit! They finally like James Gunn must have been sitting there and goes, man, that John guy in Pittsburgh, he he is really shitting on my movies. I really got to fix it, and then he did. Um, but like not just him, like everybody is much better written. Even Drax is much better written, and I didn't really like how they wrote Drax before. Um, Mantis stopped being annoying. It was awesome. Um, like I can't I just can't tell like without spoiling it too hard. It's very much so the Guardians I wanted. It is very Abnett and Landing, that era stuff. Um, the classic Guardians make an appearance too, but I'm pretty sure that was in a trailer too. Um, Adam Warlock was probably the only problem I actually had with the movie because they made him very like he's like very childish. Um, because the High Evolutionary takes him out of his cocoon too early, and he's kind of like almost like a baby. Um, like he's probably got the mentality of like a 10-year-old kid. But and he is most of the humor, to be honest. Like everything else is not very humor, but he is very much so the humor.
A lot of Warlock fans are not going to be happy with that then.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. They're not.
Wow.
However, I will say, they uh, they set it up to where it can be redeeming for him later. If they ever do anything with any of these characters after this movie, besides Star Lord, because at the end it'll. Well, never mind. Well,
Don't spoil it.
fuck. Yeah.
Non-spoilers, John.
Shit.
Non-spoilers.
Okay. But like there's a really cool. There's two mid-credit scenes. The first one kind of lets you know what happens to most of the characters, and then the last one is just focused on one character. Um, it's very very cool. The soundtrack is for the most part keeping pace with the other two. Um, and it's a good ride. It's 2.5 hours. Um, but and it does a good job of balancing like Rocket's backstory with um like a like what's going on with everybody else and like um because of what happens to Rocket earlier, that's why they're all in this like super pissed off mode, and it's very neat to see. Like I really I I can't tell you, man. Like I enjoyed it more than the other two, because they finally wrote them right, and I liked every second. But there's this scene though. I don't know. I think it's in the trailer where like Root has like 6 fucking pistols, and he's just mowing people down.
I think you do see him do that, or it's him and
Yeah,
Quill back to back doing
yeah, yeah,
like
yeah, yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
thing.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay,
but Groot's got 6 pistols by himself, right?
nice.
And it is totally like the back to back shoot 'em up, mow 'em down moment.
Okay, it's
There
the
is at
bad boys
least
moment.
yeah, there is at least 3 scenes like that intensity fighting in the movie.
Okay, well, that's much
So
better than the. I want to say it's much better than the Christmas special for sure.
mm,
On
Christmas
that
special
end,
wasn't really yeah, the Christmas special wasn't really going to have a lot of fighting. Come on.
action, yeah.
So,
But that definitely does better than the second one. Like it to my issue with the second one was there was fighting, but it seemed like the fighting was not going to end in a positive way of in the hero favor because you're literally fighting a planet. You're there's no defense on that. There's no, how the hell are you going to do this? It was yeah, you could shoot him all you want, but he's just the entire planet. Yeah.
Yeah. And then like I think the second one suffered from a lot of like, what can we do with Baby Groot and have him do different things, like the go get the dude's eye, like, or it wasn't his eye. Was it his eye? Is that what they
Yeah,
needed?
it was his eye.
Yeah. And then like, at one point he brings back like a toe and
Yeah.
like
Yeah, he brought back a couple of weird body parts, and they're like,
Yeah,
no, no.
right. Oh
Yeah.
no, they wanted to get the fin.
They
wanted to
wanted the
get
fin. And then
he
they
comes
brought back an
with all this
eyeball.
random
Yeah.
shit. Yeah. And it's just like, oh god.
Yeah.
But like that kind of stuff just it annoyed me through that.
I mean, to
section.
be fair, I loved him in helping out Thor making Stormbreaker. I enjoyed him in that part, but he was like angsty teenage Groot, which I immensely enjoyed myself. So
I just really love this Groot, and then like in the cutscene in the middle, like you get to see Groot, like, and it is fucking awesome. Like when you see him in that, you're just like, good lord, where was this Groot the whole time? I wanted this Groot I want this Groot even more than the better Groot that we got for this.
Groot versus Hulk. Next
Yeah.
Next MCU movie. Make it happen there, like, MCU guys.
But like I will also tell you, I really, really loved Cosmo. They did really Cosmo. And there's this really like there's a running joke through the whole thing with Cosmo. And it's a dog joke, and it's pretty funny.
Okay. Do we get a Howard the Duck cameo?
You want spoilers?
I just want to know, considering he was part of it in there. You know,
he's been in. Yeah, because we
haven't seen him since the Collector.
Well, we haven't seen him since Infinity War.
Yeah.
Right. Because he was in the hologram version of the Collector's building.
Yeah.
Right.
But before that, legit Howard, you didn't see him until the end of one.
Yeah, wasn't he?
Wasn't he in another Guardians 2? He wasn't in anything else.
I swear he was in another one, but I could be wrong.
Cosmo was in another one. But not how.
Well, Cosmo was also in the Christmas one too.
Yes.
They were both in cages in the Collector's building. Yeah. There's a lot of cameos from the Guardians movies. In a couple scenes, there's like a bunch of them together, and it's very well done in that aspect.
I guess I will have to go see it this weekend.
Like I said, it was really good.
Find the time,
right? Just whenever you're done with Free Comic Book Day, roll over to the theater at the Mills and
might as well, since I'll be there all day.
Yeah. I mean, it's only going to be like a $6 film or screening out there, which is really good. I mean, I saw it in Dolby at the Lowe's yesterday. It was awesome. But I will also tell you, it's crazy. There were only like 25 people in that whole screener.
Wow. That does not bode well for MCU.
Well, here's the thing, though. The same time that the screener was, they started a 3-movie marathon where you started with the first movie, then the second movie, and then at midnight you get to see the new movie. So it was like a midnight release for it. So a lot of people were in there for that. That was kind of crazy to see that. And remember, it's also like the 40th anniversary of Jedi. So everybody, like a lot of people have been seeing that in the theater because it's in the theater right now. So yeah. But overall, like I said, it was really good and I really enjoyed it.
I think that's your first super positive MCU review of the year. Because you weren't.
No,
you weren't too thrilled with Ant-Man. You said Ant-Man was okay.
I think I like the Ant-Man a little better. Um,
Okay.
but
I know
I like
you're
Ant-Man a lot more. I like the Ant-Man a lot more than I think I said.
okay.
So,
But I know for
yeah.
fact that for folks who don't know, John is not a Guardians fan, like the first two movies at all. Like
You are
he
correct, sir.
like we've had discussions on this and like out of podcast talk, and I find it surprising because you do have a humor similar to mine, and I'm not a super fan of those movies, but I do understand the humor and they do make me laugh my ass off.
I mean, it's not that I don't enjoy them. It's just that some of the jokes feel very forced, and I think some of the stuff that they do when they make changes in those movies specifically, it doesn't really translate very well. Um, so like um, for instance, in the first movie when Groot says "We are Groot," I'm like, no, he never said that. The only thing Groot has ever said besides "We are Groot" is Groot and branches, and that's it in the comics. Period. That's it. And oh, that reminds me, he also says something else in this movie. But I was like, yeah, whatever. The last one. So, so find out what Groot says in this
There you
movie.
go. For
But
you Groot
it,
fans
it,
out
it
there.
was, yeah, but it was very good. It did not tie into Kang for the first movie we've had in a while.
I thought that would be a bit weird there, considering, but
But I'll
okay.
be honest, if the High Evolutionary ends up being a big bad later down the road again, that dude crushed it. Crushed it. And if you've watched Peacemaker, he's the the black alien guy that Peacemaker is taking orders from. That's the in between him and Waller. Like he's the other guy running Task Force Z. So,
Okay.
but like that's the same actor. Because James Gunn likes to use the same people over and over again. So, Ren Schultz says theaters aren't doing well since COVID. With Netflix and all the other streaming services, why even bother going? I'll be honest, I like going to the theater. I like the experience of being in the theater. I don't have that kind of surround sound system. I don't know anyone personally who has a surround sound system like that. And some movies are just worth it to see on a big screen.
That's true.
Um, like everyone I know that saw Eternals in IMAX loved it. Everyone I know that saw it not in IMAX didn't like it. But I also think that the people that went to see it in IMAX knew who the Eternals were beforehand. That's why they sprung for IMAX tickets.
Yeah.
Uh,
If you want to see like Super Mario Brothers, I'm assuming an IMAX, it is
or Dolby.
like awesome. Yeah. Same thing with John Wick. Do not see John Wick in a plain theater. See it in full surround sound. And there are certain movies that are made to be seen in the theater that are just not is not the same impact as seeing it in your own home. Yeah, I like watching John Wick at home, like the first one, but I remember it in the theater, and it was amazeballs in the theater, and that's why it's an iconic movie character. What, 4 sequels, and not bad for a indie comic book character that wasn't supposed to do well.
Yeah. Like I said, like I think that there are definitely some that benefit from being in the theater versus being at home.
Unless you are a billionaire and you have one of those, hey, I have a movie theater as part of my house. Okay,
right.
then.
Now, like
I
will say, I think like I pretty like I didn't hate Wonder Woman 84, but I didn't love it. I think if I would have saw it in the theater, I would have liked it more because I think it was made to be on that size of a screen. And I'm honestly surprised DC hasn't like never thought about like reissuing it in the theater. And same with like Bloodshot. Bloodshot, I watched during the pandemic. It literally came out the Friday during the pandemic, and Amazon had it for, I think it was $10, and you got it for like 5 days or something.
Yeah.
And
It
I
wasn't the
watched it
same.
at home, and it was not the same. And that movie would have been an awesome, like, movie-sized action flick,
Yeah.
even though no one really knows who Bloodshot is except for me because I'm a Valiant guy. But
All you had to say is Vin Diesel in most big
yeah,
theater things is cool.
yeah,
Vin
yeah,
Diesel in non-theater movies.
yep. So yeah, I see part of your point, but and there are some people who just don't like to go out and they wait and they don't care and they wait and wait and wait. And I get that too, but I think part of the experience of these massive, larger than life characters, part of that appeal is seeing them like that. And that's why I like it. So, but all right. Did we forget anything? I think we're good, right?
Well, don't forget to watch. Was it Disney Plus put out the two Star Wars things that on Disney Plus?
Oh yeah,
Visions
Visions
2,
and
season 2.
yep.
I watched the first 3. They were really good. The art is like the first season, different artists. So far in the first 3, lots of Sith. So if you are a Sith fan, you will not be disappointed. But I've only seen the first 3. I haven't seen the rest. And what's the other one? Is it Jedi Academy or something like that?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, and that is for little ones. So for those geek parents, there's something for your little ones to watch too. So
Right. Cool. All right.
I think that's it.
Well, guys, thanks so much for watching. We will catch you guys next week.
Yep.
Also, hopefully we'll see some of you guys at Free Comic Book Day. I'll be at the waterfront for a little bit for the first couple hours. Justin will be out at the mills. Come say hi. Give us high
Yes.
fives. We like it.
Yes.
In fact, very specifically, ask for a high five. I will totally give you a high five. And I know
Yes.
Justin will too.
Yes.
But
Always ask the Thor's permission to throw Mjolnir at the first douchebag that takes too many free comic book. So
well, right. We're just gonna have all the Thors monitor the wall.
yeah, there we go. Nothing intimidate more than someone with a large hammer.
Though, but in all seriousness, though, do remember that if you do want a picture of the cosplayer or you want to talk to the cosplayers or anything, please be respectful and ask for permission before you do it.
Yes.
Cosplay is not consent. Thank you.
Yes.
Also, don't forget, cosplay karaoke is the Wednesday before the show. It is the Wheel of Death. We are putting 64 songs in the hopper, spinning the wheel, seeing what you get to sing. It's going to be a blast. And if you happen to be at the Pirates game on Tuesday, if it doesn't get rained out, you'll see me and Justin hanging out with the Pittsburgh Avengers. We're going to be hanging out, getting out some Three Rivers propaganda.
Yep. And go Buccos. It's a little rough, but they can't win like every game. There's 180 of them, guys. Come on.
Right.
We're still in really good position.
You're still over
best
500.
start since 1992. I was 10 years old. It's when Barry Bonds pre-steroids. That's how good this is. Pre-steroids Barry Bonds. Come on. Good if you can't get excited over that, come on.
All right.
Another good way to end the podcast.
Everybody.